I'm OG Blade Reviews, back with you once again. Hello, thanks for coming. And I've got another interesting blade today, a company that I'd never heard of before if it were not for Tactical Elements. A very unique place to buy your blades because along with the usual fare from Microtech and other companies you may have heard of, they often pick up some very obscure stuff. They've been great to communicate with too. I had questions on orders and they'll email me right back and have a nice conversation through email with them. Very courteous and attentive to their customers. So I highly recommend Tactical Elements. I'll make sure you've got all the links at the bottom of this review, this video, in the description area. Now, this is a knife from ECOS, E-C-O-S. But the majority of their blades are Kwaikens or Kydex, use either terminology you'd like. And the Japanese-inspired blades, some smaller work knives, some larger. I like larger blades, not too teeny. So this is a 4-incher, overall around 9 inches, and we'll get the measurements in a moment. They don't have any particular names other than they're all simply called Kwaikens. So there is another model. You can see they have the traditional Japanese hamon, or temper line, and it truly is a temper line. These are forged knives. Now, the owner and the main bladesmith is Jason Aube, I believe, Aube, A-U-B-E, A-U-B-E. He was born in Michigan. He's been making knives for 34 years, started at the age of 14, originally concentrating his efforts on stainless steel blades with immaculate finishes, hand-rubbed satin finishes, and so forth. But he soon found that while these finishes look great, they soon got messed up in actual use. Yeah, we all know that, don't we? So he decided to start ECOS to offer custom knives with user-grade finishes at affordable prices. And he has an apprentice that he took on in 2018 by the name of Dwight. They're continuing to make their blades in the Philippines. There are some others that are extremely interesting that are laminated with carbon fiber and G10 on the outside and 1095 on the inside. Now this is 1095 tool steel. This came in about 180, and there's some as low as actually under 100. Most, if not all, are Tsukamaki wrapped with paracord in this case. So it's a Tsukamaki wrap. It's not 100% traditional in that they don't twist it and knot it in a particular way, but it's very close, and a lot of people are using this method on the handle. It's genuine ray skin underneath. We have a brass Minuki, which is the little figure underneath the wrap. This happens to be a dragon, although it's partially covered by the wrap, as you might expect. But you can see parts of the dragon there. We've got, I believe, what they call a Turk's knot for a guard at the top. And in case you're wondering if your hand's going to slip on this, that's always the thing that gets raised with Japanese-style knives that don't have big honkin' Killian's guards on here. No, you don't need them, and I would refer you to James Williams, who has a number of demo vids out there on YouTube showing him driving this type of knife, his own knives that he's made through plywood, through steel car hoods, through archery targets that are hard and so forth, and no slippage of the hand. So a lot of that is technique. In fact, that's all technique. He tends to palm it this way for his thrusts or cap it with his thumb this way. And I'll tell you, when I would say my favorite handle, look at this. You see those opposing grooves and ridges? Those perfectly fit your fingers. Your fingers fit right into those. and it is like having a milled out grip area on, let's say, a G10 handle. So very, very secure. You really have to have these in your hands to know. You can't just look at the video and say your hand's going to slip on it. These are epoxied after they're wrapped, so this stuff doesn't shift or move at all. It's basically one solid grip area. Okay, off my soapbox on that, but isn't that a beautiful knife? He finishes in 220 grit sandpaper, I believe. It is quite smooth and slick feeling. There's your hamon where they differentially harden the edge from the spine. We have, for Kwaikens, what appears to be a traditional swedge, but many people tell me swedges on the Japanese knives were not. Usually you'll see a V grind on top, but it feels really comfortable in my hand, and it's a perfect length. It's about as long as you would want to carry in, let's say, a pocket carry. And this is always challenging here when you have this knot on top, or even just a Tsukamaki, and I'll show you later on an AB knives, Aaron Bieber knives knife, that this is often difficult to mate up with the Kydex because of the way that it's, you know, uniquely wrapped, and you don't just have a piece of G10 there to lock onto. It does rattle a little bit, but it is quite secure, and if I wanted to, I could push it off. When I first saw it and I saw that maybe this sheath was a little bit asymmetrical, I was going to warm this up and push that down, but since I've used it, it's actually a great push-off. So they don't give you a push-off here. The knot is exposed. Lots of grommets. It's a taco-style sheath, and it's a good, basic, serviceable sheath out of a fairly thick Kydex. So putting that aside, let's measure it up, see what we've got. Overall length of this one is like 9 1/4 inches, actually. With a blade, it's at 4 inches. It's more like 4 1/4. You know, where do you measure it when you've got a knot that's sort of, you know, not the same height all the way across? Doesn't really matter. Overall length in metric units is 23 centimeters with an 11 centimeter blade. Switching to calipers here. We've got a blade stock in millimeters of 3.8. And where do you measure this? The highest area on the knot, 17.8. And the lower area here, like 15 millimeters. Really, that's not something you're going to want to get exact measurements on, because it's not an exact wrap. It varies. I'm going to switch to grams, and the knife alone weighs 131.62 grams, or 4.64 ounces. With the sheath, very light, bumps it up to 5.8, we'll call it, ounces. But the sheath is like most sheaths from Kydex, featherweight. All right, getting stuff mixed up on the table here, sorry about that. Let's back off a little bit. So it is a really neutral handle. Basically what you call a stick handle with that knot at the guard area that keeps you from slipping forward, okay, if that's what you need. But it just kind of finishes it off too. There is a hidden choil. Well, it's hidden because the knot is there, but you can sharpen it right up there. There's no metal that gets in your way. The knot is there, so yeah, I mean, if you're halfway decent at sharpening, this isn't going to give you trouble. I haven't touched it myself in terms of edge enhancement, But I have heard from other users that they come through with a sharp edge, so we'll see. Indeed. Indeed. Real smooth. Yeah, I can pretty much cut curly cues off of this. Really nice edge. Nice edge. As with most of my knives, if I'm going to carry them, I do end up putting my own edge on, usually with Wicked Sharp, or Wicked Edge rather, or I keep wanting to say Wicked Sharp, that's Mike Emler. Wicked Edge, or my Work Sharp Precision Adjust Pro. So I think I've given you all the background on Jason, and I was waiting for some more info to come through because Tactical Elements reached out for me and asked Jason some particulars, like I was wondering if he tested HRC and that kind of thing. But usually differentially hardened blades with the edge hard and the spine a little softer, they can get that edge up pretty hard. So I'm thinking 1095 and probably at least 59 to 61. That's my guess, because it's really not given anywhere in particular. I'm going to compare to immediately another Tsukamaki wrapped knife, but this one is not going to be in the lower cost area. It's going to be around 300 or more. And this is from AB Knives. This is Aaron Bieber's model 302, a very popular model with his knives. Completely custom made, as is this. Tsukamaki wrap, notice what I was referring to earlier. We have that crossover and twist, whereas here we just have, kind of flat and Xing over. So this being a particular cotton Tsukamaki wrap, this being paracord, there's your economy. This has no Turk's knot, if I'm using that term correctly. We've got a really nice finishing knot on the pommel, as we do here. Very similar termination there. So you're not spending the money for this one, but you're getting a knife that's almost as perfect on that handle. This is in Magna Cut. He gets his Magna Cut up to 63, 64, he was saying when I first got that knife. Much smaller, like a 3.5 inch, what is it? Well, in case you want to know, it says a little over 7 inches, 7 1/8, with a 3.5 inch blade. That's what I was going to say, 3.5 inches. That's what he calls his deep finish. It wears nicely over time. And what else we got? Asian, Japanese really inspired. We have one I've had for a long time from Columbia River, and this is the Obake by Chad Burnley. And that's nicely wrapped for a relatively inexpensive, I think, these were like around $50 or so at the time I got it. But look at that. I don't know if they machine wrap that or not, but it's a perfect wrap. And is it ray skin or a plastic? I'm not really sure, and it doesn't matter. But that's like a very small Kydex or Kwaiken. Not the same Tanto as Cold Steel by a long shot. Cold Steel was kind of a morphing of traditional sword tips with Tanto tips. And here we have Ozuraku Zukuri Mini Kydex from Williams. Here what they did was take the traditional wrapped handle and emulate it in, this is micarta by Lion Steel. This is in Sleipner steel, and you get that two-stage blade, which is the traditional Ozuraku Zukuri style blade. Williams turns out some real interesting smaller blades. A lot of them custom up in the 500 plus category. Finally, I'll put it this way so you can see the grind, because it's a chisel grind. And this one is a Josh Mason custom Kwaiken. Okay, so Kydex, Kwaiken, that name is largely interchangeable. Look at the beautiful job that Josh does on this. He's a U.S. maker, and I think he's either in Nebraska, I'm not sure, Midwest, I'll say. Ohio, maybe. Beautiful grinds he does. I forget the steel on this one, but it is a hardened tool steel. Look at the brush satin finish. But he does the same knot there for the guard. Perfect, beautiful Tsukamaki wrap. And as with most Western makers using Tsukamaki wrap, he does epoxy it when he's all done, binds everything together, keeps it from moving and unraveling. The traditional ones were not, obviously. They didn't have epoxy. They had other stuff, but and there's paracord underneath this. So kind of a hybrid again. We've got some thin paracord here and the cotton Tsukamaki wrap there. But if you look at this side where his logo is, you can see that's completely flat. A lot of people don't care for chisel grinds, but I got to tell you, this thing is a razor blade. When I saw the beautiful grinds on it, I had to have it. So I contacted Josh. He's a great guy to work with. I'm going to put that guy away. It's only out there for compare. I'm going to put the 302 away from AB knives. And the Osiraku Mini Kwaiken and the Burnley Obake. Just knives that are about in the ballpark, same size. Of course, Columbia River does a lot of the Williams inspired designs as well. Anyway, I would definitely recommend these. You can get them for as low as like 140, 130, 140 in the shorter sizes. The longer the blade goes, the more you're going to pay, but they're all under 200 for the most part. I'll make sure you've got the link at Tactical Elements. But look at that beautiful hamon. And it is a true hamon. It is not something that's cosmetically added on afterwards. With some of the North Mountain knives, you do get that added on afterwards. But those are also Sanmai steel, sandwich steel. This is not. This is a single piece of 1095 tool steel. Balance on it is right about there. Can't quite balance on that knot, but it's right about where that knot is. It just feels lively, you know, really, really nice. And if you wanted to go pakal, no problem. Point down, edge in, this will work. That's the beauty of these knives. So long as you know where the edge is, you can use them either way, meaning that there's nothing on the handle to define where the edge is. It's not an asymmetrical handle, it's a symmetrical handle. That is real ray skin underneath and a really nice, as I said, brass menuki, M-E-N-U-K-I, in anglicized Japanese. Definitely recommended. I think you're going to get an edge that's going to hold up, one that you won't have to baby, you know, not highly polished, not satin, none of that. So that is the ECOS, E-C-O-S knives, with the bladesmith being Jason A-U-B-E, Aube, or Aube, not sure how he pronounces that, with his apprentice being Dwight, I don't have a last name. Affordable knives, Japanese style, Tactical Elements. Check them out. Right about now, click on my logo, and you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate your stopping by. Be well. Stay safe.